I'm Shari Einhorn. We are live on Newsday TV. Today we're continuing Newsday's year-long investigative series focusing on Long Island's dangerous roads. Today we're talking about something just about all of us have probably experienced: aggressive driving. Joining me to talk more about it, we have Newsday reporter Michael O'Keefe. Mike, thanks for joining us. Mike, through your reporting, we've seen tickets definitely increase for aggressive driving. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. Police in both Suffolk County and Nassau County recognized, in the wake of the pandemic, enforcement had really increased. The departments did not want their officers having face-to-face interactions with drivers, motorists, because there was so much about the virus we were unaware of. We didn't know how dangerous it could be. So enforcement really fell, and when enforcement fell, reckless driving, aggressive driving really increased, really went through the roof. And I think we all see that. Anecdotally, everybody knows that. But so as a result of that,
because roads were empty.
The roads were empty, and then when they started to get full again, people didn't change their behavior. They're still driving in an aggressive manner. So enforcement, the police department said we need to do something about this. I just have some figures here. In 2020, Nassau police wrote about 29,000 tickets for aggressive driving. That's the low. In Suffolk, it was about 20,000. In 2024, in Nassau County, that number went up to about 41,000, and in Suffolk, it was 35,000. So still slightly below what we saw like in 2018 and 2019, but the enforcement has become much more aggressive. And
we both spoke with both police commissioners. They're taking it very seriously.
They take this incredibly seriously. Kevin Catalina in Suffolk County has really made highway safety a priority. Crime is down in Suffolk, and so they're shifting resources to address, dangerous roads in Suffolk County.
Now, when we talk about aggressive driving, I think a lot of people think about the incidents that maybe end in a crash, a serious injury, unfortunately sometimes fatalities, but it's not really that. So what did you and us find is actually characterized? What is aggressive driving?
It includes all that. It's a very broad category, and it can include, excessive speeding. It can include, we all see it on the highway, right? It's hard to define, but we see it. If you're on the roads every day, you see it every day. Right. It's speeding, excessive speeding. It's weaving in and out of lanes. It's passing on the shoulder or crossing into the HOV lane when that's not appropriate to pass people. Tailgating, certainly. Distracted driving, driving while impaired, it all falls under that umbrella.
And let's talk about a little, how does that make the roads dangerous? If you're not the one engaging in the behavior, you're still potentially impacted by it.
The worst case scenario is you are hit or you're an accident is caused that you're involved in because of someone engaging in that behavior. But if someone is weaving in and out, it may make you reflexively go into a different lane or hit the brakes or something, right, and that can cause an accident. So there's all kinds of ramifications for this kind of behavior.
Okay, now let's take a look at some of the ramifications and the impact this issue is having on some Long Island families.
I think about the day when she was born and I held her in my hands.
A father's love.
Oh my God, if you haven't met my daughter, just look at the pictures.
And admiration.
Always a big smile, always laughing, always trying to help somebody else.
Along with his hopes and dreams for her future.
She had plans.
All of it gone in an instant.
I miss her every day, and I think about her every second of every day.
Just a few months earlier, Sierra Hare celebrated her 18th birthday, enjoyed her senior prom, and graduated high school. She also started classes at Nassau Community College. She was studying to be a radiologist.
It's just been horrifying.
It was November 5th, 2022. Richard Hare was at work when his wife called. Sierra missed her curfew and wasn't answering her phone. He tried her a few times but had no luck. Then he got the call. Every parent fears.
There was a police officer on the phone saying, "Mr. Hare, your daughter's dead. Can I have her name?" And I was just like, this is a joke, right? And I just fell down on the floor And the cops started asking me her name and identification and stuff. And I came here and there were a bunch of people in my house. My wife was going nuts. And we were told that she was killed in an accident along the other two kids, those poor children.
29-year-old Matthew White was driving high on marijuana, weaving in and out of traffic and speeding over 90 miles an hour on the southern state near exit 32, according to prosecutors. He crashed into Sierra's car, forcing her into a traffic camera pole. Sierra, her friend 18-year-old Florence Operson, and 22-year-old Jean-Marc Miller all died.
I don't want to hear that he made a mistake. He killed my daughter and two other children.
According to the Institute for Traffic Safety Management and Research at the University of Albany, more than 2,100 people have died on Long Island roads in the decade ending in 2023.
By far, it is the #1 complaint that we get is reckless driving.
So what is reckless or aggressive driving? It's speeding, tailgating, sudden lane changes, crossing the HOV divider, using exit and entrance ramps to blow past the car in front of you.
Most people in Suffolk County are not going to be the victims of a violent crime, but everybody is affected by road safety.
Police officials across Long Island say they've been stepping up enforcement.
There's more people sitting in the center medians, and that's causing people to just slow down as a result. They're not necessarily pulling people over, but I'm sure you guys are seeing it. When there's a police officer in center median, people just naturally slow down, so that's what we want to see.
Data analyzed by Newsday shows the number of traffic tickets issued for aggressive driving in Suffolk County between 2020 and 2024 jumped from about 20,000 to nearly 37,000. And in Nassau during the same time, tickets increased from more than 29,000 to almost 47,000. So why do some drivers drive aggressively? Are they thrill seekers? Are they selfish? Or are they everyday folks dealing with the stresses of life? All of the above, says psychiatrist Dr. Joseph Squitieri. He believes most drivers don't intend to cause harm to others. But he says if you already have a short fuse before you get into the car, it's probably not going to take much to send you over the edge.
Taking a couple of deep breaths and holding it for about 10 seconds can be really helpful to just kind of bring your blood pressure and your stress level down, and not taking everything personally right on the road. I think that happens a lot.
I think some young people forget you're driving a machine that easily can kill somebody. I think slowly we're getting the message out there.
It's a simple message that could ultimately save lives.
There are some people that choose to completely ignore it when they get behind the wheel. They, for some reason or another, feel that where they're trying to get to is more important than everybody else's safety.
White is now serving 4.5 to 13.5 years in prison after pleading guilty to aggravated vehicular homicide, second-degree manslaughter, and other charges. Sierra's family celebrated what would have been her 21st birthday by laying flowers at her grave and having a service in their home. Richard told me he can't think about the future his daughter will never have. It's just too painful. Instead, he's begging drivers to consider this the next time you get behind the wheel.
Try to think of others before you think of yourself.
Now let's talk about some of the things being done to crack down on the problem. Mike, what did we hear?
You know, in Nassau County, Commissioner Ryder told us that they're diverting resources from other areas that they would use their staff or their resources. They're moving them to traffic enforcement. We've seen, as we mentioned earlier, the number of tickets that have been written in Nassau County in the last 5 years have really gone up significantly. In Suffolk, they're doing the same thing. They've added more officers to their highway patrol. They've also extended what started as a pilot program, the Street Takeover Task Force, where they have officers patrolling the highway, specifically looking for people who are speeding and weaving in and out of traffic and racing and things like that. And of course, one of their officers, Brendan Gallagher, was injured very severely by a aggressive driver in January.
And he has a very long road to recovery.
He does, yes.
Okay, what's your final takeaway after doing all of this research?
You know, I think Kevin Catalina and Richard Hare, you know, I'm going to use thoughts from both of them, but Catalina said, we just saw on the tape, you know, that on Long Island, chances are you're not going to be the victim of a violent murder or a violent crime or things like that, but we're all impacted by this aggressive driving. And if you're not impacted in a way that, you know, you're not in an accident or you're not hurt, you're still going to see your insurance rates go up. Right. You're still going to see, there's going to be problems on the highway because of crashes and things like that. And, you know, just what Richard Hare said, you know, he told us, you got to think of other people. You got to be aware that, you know, your actions can impact other people. And so I think, you know, what Mr. Hare said really hit home for me. Certainly, I've become a lot more cautious driving as a result of the work we've done in the last couple of months here.
I agree, and I texted him to let him know when the story was running, and I thanked him for sharing his daughter's story. And what he said really hit me. He said, please make it count.
Hope we did.
I hope so too. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you joining us. You can see the most dangerous roads in your neighborhood. Our team of researchers created an interactive map showing crash locations across the island from 2022 to 2024. You can see that and read more on our Dangerous Roads investigation. Go to Newsday.com, click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. Thanks so much for watching.